Since the pandemic has hit, it seems like that the world has just gone to a complete stop. I mean, every single day just kind of blends into one now because you don't necessarily go out. You don't know when Friday is going to come. There's no beer gardens. There's nothing. Everything is just kind of shut down altogether. And it kind of started to affect me as a creator. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that's kind of like this. I'm sure there are many, many creators out there that are stuck inside their own homes. And meanwhile, it's a good thing on certain aspects. You don't spread the virus. You finally get to spend a little bit of time with some loved ones if, you guys live all together. But it also, it just kind of turns off that creative muscle. It's like you're wanting to come up with concepts and you're trying to get out there, but you just can't. It's like you're trying to come up with creative concepts, but it's like hitting a wall. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that feels this. Since I've been staring at these two monitors for the longest time, and as you can see, the entire desk is just a mess. It has been nothing but just kind of like a challenge of getting out of my seat and start thinking creatively and be inspired and move forward with like the next step. Ladies and gentlemen, that is why I have decided to take up a challenge from a friend of mine in the UK. His name is Christian. His YouTube channel is just down below. But he asked me to do a challenge with him and a couple of his buddies over in the UK. And it's basically the quarantine challenge, if you want to call it that. I'm sure you've seen a bunch of videos of trying to get creative at home with not many props, not many kind of locations. And it's time that I do the exact same thing. I've talked to my buddies, and now all I have is about an hour to come up with a creative concept and make it into reality. And so recently I bought some fishing line, and what we're gonna do with this is we're gonna make some things float. But first, I really need to clean up this mess because it just looks awful.
All of this is, it has to go. It's gotta disappear because I can't even do anything with this. Let's get it going.
So essentially what's gonna happen is I'm gonna take this fish line, and there's a little rod up here, which I'm gonna show you in a second. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start hooking up some things with this almost invisible fishing line, whatever it's called. And essentially we're gonna make them levitate in my hands. You can do this at home. You can order this thing on Amazon for like 10, 13 bucks, and you can have this whole home setup of just like fish net, fish line. It's not a fish net. Fish net is different. But essentially you can just make things levitate at home. So let's get that set up. I just realized that I'm gonna have to go and grab a completely different light because I have this light set up very, very specifically for my talking head videos, and I really don't want to mess that up. So I'm gonna go set up another light now.
The laundry room and food everywhere. But essentially, here, this right here is what we're gonna set up. That's my Godox light. We're gonna have to get up some stands and let's do the thing. Ugh, so heavy. Need to get the light stand, which I'm assuming is like this. Okay. Whew. Let's go start setting
So this light diffuser had to be here just because we're going to be lighting me quite nicely, and I want to make sure that it's not a very, very harsh light. So here we go. This is our setup now. Okay, so here's the plan. Essentially, there are these drone things, a remote, and here's my Mavic Mini. Essentially what's gonna happen is I'm going to start stringing them up onto this little thing, and essentially they're gonna be holding the thing up. Meanwhile, I pretend that I'm doing some sort of like hocus pocus. I don't know how well this thing is gonna hold, so we're gonna have to kind of figure it out and kind of go by ear, but we'll see. That was a little difficult, but now that my items are floating, it's time to finally get rid of the sweater because it's getting a little bit hot in here. Turn the light on and essentially just take the photo. Let's get to it. All right, light is ready. We are ready. I took off the remote because I thought there were just way too many things all in the picture, so I just decided to go with the drone. But if you look here, very, very carefully, try to see, you see that little fissure line thing? That goes all the way up there, and essentially that's how this whole contraption is working. But let's see if we can grab the photo. Okay, so we finished the shot. I just knocked the table with my finger. So we finished the shot, and essentially what we're gonna do is we're gonna import it into Lightroom, and we're just gonna be messing around with it a little bit. So here you can see the picture of me. Essentially there's the fish line, the fisher's line, or whatever you want to call it, and there's me in the back. So what we're gonna do is we're going to start off by just essentially changing the color. We're gonna use one of my presets and just adjust a little bit of things there. Boom, I like that. It's a good little visual. Maybe we'll take back those reds just a tiny little bit and make them a little bit more orange. Boom. Okay, so now what we gotta do is we gotta go right click onto the picture itself, and we're gonna go edit and edit in Adobe Photoshop. This is gonna prompt us all the way to Photoshop. It's gonna open it for us, and it's gonna open the image itself onto the screen for us. So once we have the picture here, it's very simple what we're gonna do. We're gonna go over into the healing brush, and we're just gonna select spot healing. What we're gonna do is we're gonna try to zoom in as much as possible. Look at my big nose over there. And we're going to shrink down this little thing. And the reason why we're going to do that is because we only want to remove certain parts of this fishing line. This can be a tedious process, so you might have to kind of do it a couple more times, but essentially you're just trying to remove small little bits at a time. Boom. Just like that. We'll fix that up a little bit. Got into my lip a little bit too much. This can be a little bit of a tedious process, so I'm just gonna go and speed this right up. Alright, so now we finished up the face. But essentially still there's just a little bit of these lines just the way that I was suspending the drone, so we're just gonna go and clean those lines up a little bit here. Messed up a little bit there, so we're just gonna clone stamp this back. Boom, good as new. That's essentially it. So now we zoomed out, everything is clear. All we gotta do is just hit Command Save or Control Save if you're running it on a PC. And what's gonna happen is we can exit out Photoshop, we go back and a second option appeared. This is the first one with the cable still in there, and then this is the second one. If I can click on it, there you go. Without the cable, boom. Now what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna create a virtual copy of this just so I can have a second one. I'm going to crop this to a 4x5
so we can match that good Instagram. I rotated the crop tool by just pressing X, and all I gotta do is I just gotta go and maximize this and hit enter. Boom, looking good. There you go. That's how you keep yourself entertained while you're quarantined and there's nothing else you can do outside. If you guys have found this tutorial helpful, then please by all means hit like and share your comments and see what you thought about it. If you're stuck inside for quite a long time and you feel a little bit drained, I challenge you to put together your small little quarantine creative challenge, just so you can keep yourself a little bit occupied, and so you make these days and make these minutes go by just a little bit quicker and a little bit more entertaining. As all the time, guys, if you guys reach out, please do. I would love to chat with you guys about whatever, whether it's your creative process through this whole entire thing, whether it's how I did this, what camera you use, what camera I use. I just want to get the creative conversation going, because as a lot of creatives, we're all stuck inside and it could be quite draining on you and it could be quite challenging. So I just want to encourage you to get yourself out there, to think outside of the bubble and try to make something, because in these times people need creatives. People need someone to kind of take their minds off this incredibly bad situation that's happening. Stay safe, guys. My name is Benza. Thank you so much for checking this out, and I'll see you guys in the next one.